So I came to a realization recently, as most of these videos I've started recently I've begun to notice. I have a lot to learn, as we all do. Remember, kids, there's never a point where there's nothing left to learn. You can always learn more. So, this realization I came to recently was the following. That my system, as good as it's starting to look, has a fundamental problem. And it's not that it's built on the 5th edition chassis. It's not that the classes currently have a design problem where only like a third of them are done. Not even done, but started. And it's not even the fact that the resources are a little bit complicated in how multi-classing between the two, between two different classes with two different resources and how they function would work. It's that even if within the next 6 months I manage to get all the classes done, all of their redesigns, all of the feats, the Paragon Pass, Legendary Journeys, the Epic Destinies for every class, including additional versions of those that are outside of regular classes and are just meant for anybody to take and are generic. That even if I had finished all of that, if I have finished all that in 6 months, there'll be one fundamental problem. I have not done any sort of monster math at all. And why is this a problem, you may be asking? Well, astute viewers will know that I am an optimizer. I at least like to think I am. As much as I like to say I am aware that I am most likely not one, in terms of the same scale that others are. But I like to think I am. And in optimization, 4th edition is seen as a really good edition, if not the quintessential D&D edition, since it does most things right and very little wrong. And that 5th edition is the polar opposite, where they do a lot wrong and they do very little good. Now, where this is, I believe, to be one prevalent portion, not just that the class designs are bad, not just that the marshals are garbage and spellcasters are overpowered, but the monster math is out of whack. There will be instances of challenge rating creatures of equal level to a party, and the party will get stomped. Alternatively, there's an additional portion of creatures of a CR similar to the party level that the party will just stomp. It is quite literally a feast or famine type monster math, where you either have a CR1 creature facing off against a party of 4 level 1 adventurers, and all 4 level 1 adventurers get stomped. Or you have a CR1 creature, or multiple CR1 creatures, that reasonably should give them an equal challenge to the one that stomped them, but then the party just stomps them entirely. Why is this? Well, many believe that because Wizards of the Coast didn't do their monster math properly, and also due to the lack of bounded accuracy. I think that might also be a contributing factor, but that's neither here nor there. But the fact that Wizards of the Coast didn't do as thorough of a job with their monster math as they did in 4th edition leads to this scenario where it's feast or famine, where you either have this monster of equal level that is way too strong for that level, or is way too weak. So I was told by 2 people in particular that you may have seen on this channel before, Cyberrock of Cyberrock Opinions, as you have seen many times prior, and also Targon the Ancient from when I did a review of his fighter class, his heroic fighter class rework, they informed me that monster math is insanely important and that I should attempt to do my best to work out the monster math before any other class design. Because the reason that Cyberrock put it was the reason 4th edition classes and monster design are so easy and so good is because monster math was done first. And then they built the player characters upon that monster math. And then when Monster Manual 3 came out and they redesigned all of their monster math, it made it even easier. And that's what people use, is the Monster Manual 3 monster math. And that's because in 4th edition, the monsters kind of scale linearly, similar to the players, where players get half of their level to checks, attack rolls, and as a bonus just to general things. Monsters also gain +1s to things at similar levels, similar to the players. So the monsters are always slightly below the player standard because they get less powerful less quickly, like not as quickly. So because they're always slightly below the players in terms of power, because they are more spiky than anything else, that you can afford as a dungeon master to put several creatures of similar type or similar level to the players and get a decent encounter, because the monsters don't scale as high and the players scale linearly, and the monsters scale at the same rate, but they are always slightly below. You can afford to give more monsters. You can afford to have these large encounters with creatures, as there's no risk of you going, oops, I didn't make the encounter hard enough, or oops, I made the encounter too hard, by playing the monsters as they should be. Because right now, in 5th edition, if you play a dragon as smart as you can, then the players outside of spellcasters and people with ranged weapons are useless, because the dragon has no reason to land. In 4th edition, you have options. You can leap, you can throw things as you can in 5th edition. But it's a lot better in 4th edition because basic attacks aren't the only thing you have. You have powers that have range. And there are ways that martial characters can facilitate attacking an airborne target. If not, they have party members who have capabilities that are specifically designed to handle long range or flying targets. That is the idea. So with monster math, in 5th edition being so out of whack and 4th edition being so good, looking upon the monster math card, it is a lot easier to understand how a character should scale to the monsters. Let me give you an example. So in my current session, my players are going through the Great Tomb of Nazarick from the Anime Overlord. They have just defeated, they've just gone through most of the 3rd floor, or the 2nd floor, and they're heading to the 3rd floor to fight Sheltier. And I have yet to make this stat block. And I was having trouble figuring out what would be correct. So, about yesterday or so, as of the recording of this video, yesterday, the 17th of May, I was given this realization that monster math kind of needs to be done. And I looked at the monster math card for 4th edition, pardon me, And then I realized my monster math is looking very similar, because the lowest possible AC that a player can have is 14. Because Wizard, having a 18 in intelligence at level 1, with not only their optimized build of their race, and then their feat at level 1, and then their ability score that they get, it is possible for them to get an 18 in intelligence at level 1. So, assuming that they use the mage armor ability, they can use their intelligence instead of dexterity to calculate their armor class. But it's still 10 plus their modifier. So the lowest possible AC that a character can have is 14. And the highest is 18 to 20, depending on if you're using unarmored defense or you're using a full plate of armor. Which, let's just be honest here, if you're allowing full plate and a shield at level 1, then you're going to have a lot more problems than not. So the lowest possible AC was 14, and the highest possible HP was like 30 or 40 with a barbarian. No, sorry. The highest possible HP at level 1 would have been like 15. 15. Because I don't think I'm going to give any races additional HP. That's subject to change, though. And so I just did all my monster math based on the notion of the barbarian that I currently have done, and the lowest possible AC of the wizard. And ironically enough, when I said that the ideal range for my team, for my game, would be that each class that I'm going to make should have, if they were to fight a creature of equal level to them, they should take 3 rounds minimum to kill the creature, up to 4 rounds maximum. And that would mean that they would have to have an average DPR increase of 2 in order to keep up with that. Maybe even more if they are a striker, and less if they're something like a controller. And when I did the math on my barbarian, that's exactly what happened. I had no idea. And now that I have this monster math chart, I'm making Shell tier way easier. But that it has become a ramble at this point, as per the name of this series, the Rants. Apologies. The point. Where is it? I have lost track of the point. Ah, yes. Monster math. Do your monster math first. Determine how you want your players and your monsters to scale relative to one another first. And it makes monster design, even by homebrewing a monster that currently does not exist in any book, it makes it significantly easier to get what I deem, personally, the most time-consuming and the most frustrating part of monster design out of the way in minutes. And that is HP, saving throws, AC, skill proficiencies, attacks, like attack bonuses, like to hits, and average damage. And also, on top of that, give monsters different classifications, like the Brute, the Soldier, like 4th edition did, and then give them unique traits. Like, the Brute is supposed to be big and strong, so he gets to do more damage and have more health, but the caveat is that he gets hit more. And the Soldier is supposed to be weaker than the Brute, but he's supposed to be tankier by having higher AC and about equivalent, if not slightly less HP, but do slightly less damage. So, do your monster math, folks. It does help.